What's going on, everybody? Welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Risen Mythical League, where we are coming at you with our. Is this the semifinals already? It's the quarterfinals, I suppose, technically, but
Yeah.
double elimination bracket makes things a little bit wonky. We're coming at you with the quarterfinals matchup between Con Esports and the Death Cards. Con Esports getting their first shot at some action here after a dominant regular season. We're going to see how they're going to be able to stand up to one of our play-in qualifier teams in the Death Cards. My name's Gordo. I'm joined on the desk today by Goferino. Goferino, how are you doing this evening? How are you feeling about our matchup?
Uh, I think everybody else shares the sentiment here that Khan has been pretty dominant all season. Is probably going to be dominant here tonight. We'll have to see because the Death Cards did have a pretty decent showing last week in their best of five to get into playoffs. It's not exactly playoffs. It's like kind of playoffs, but not. It's weird.
It's halfway
Either
in
way,
between.
though, they were
Play
able
in.
to get the 3-0 and lock their place on in. So we'll see if they're able to continue that momentum going into this week. Because Con Esports, I mean, they went completely undefeated in the regular season here, Gordo. So Con's definitely riding a lot of momentum.
Yeah, definitely. And this is where you kind of find out, it's a different patch than they played on originally. They haven't been practicing as much the last couple of weeks, or, I'm sure they're practicing on their own, but they haven't been playing within league sanctioned matches for a little bit longer than anybody else. They did get an FF in the regular season, so I mean,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, they've really only played 3 series here in the Mythical
Yeah.
League. That's just kind of a side effect of the format as it is. If you're dominant enough and you win enough matches, you end up not really having to play too many of them. As we
Ooh.
start to get into our first draft here, we'll see if the death cards have enough information to work off of as they try to see if they can be the first team to upset Khan.
Yeah, that is one of the funny things since Con only played 3 series and each of them they 2-0'd. They've only played 6 games in Risen so far this split, which kind of made like researching before this match a little bit more Papega. It's like, oh, okay. You've picked 6 different champions. Okay. I'll have to see. A lot of target bans so far here. I know the brand has been played here by the Death Cards jungler. The Darius is an interesting one. I haven't seen Khan's top laner pick this too much, but could be a medical.
Definitely fits with the logo a little bit. I got to give them that at least. So maybe something to be considering there. I know they've gone through an array of carry style top laners already. Like Revnon has been playing stuff like the Urgot and the Mordekaiser a lot throughout the season. And while we haven't gotten to see that, Darius definitely feels like it would suit the kind of play style that the team has generally wanted to go for. The Smolder and
Oh,
Nocturne band's going to round things out. And they're going to grab that highly valued Senna. Got some very minor nerfs to Piercing Darkness on the patch, but overall, I think that champion is still pretty much in the same state she's been in.
yeah. I'd say the nerfs are definitely kind of noticeable since that is your bread and butter spell. I mean, when you go up and trade, you do auto Q or Q auto. So losing 10% of an AD ratio on that, you will notice that over the course of the game. But like you said, not the hardest hitting thing. But it's going to be answered with the Seraphine Nautilus here, most likely going in the bot lane. Although I heard apparently mid lane Seraphine has gotten much better this patch after the changes, or at least it's much closer in win rate to support an bot lane Senna. So we'll see. That is technically a flex here. I'm expecting it to go into the bot lane though.
I am too. I know the intent of the changes was to push her into the support role, but the lock-in of this Nautilus makes me question that that's really what Death Cards are intending to go for here. It's definitely been interesting some of the changes to see them come across. It's like straight nerfs on her ultimate, but all the other abilities kind of end up rebalanced to where they work a little bit differently. Not necessarily worse, just working a little bit differently. Lower cooldowns early on that W, especially, and some incentives to max E. So I'm very curious to see if we end up seeing the beat drop start to be the go-to max rather than that high note, as its wave clearing abilities have been nerfed pretty substantially.
Yeah.
The Volibear now going to be the lock-in for the Death Cards here. So it looks like we've probably got our jungle matchup locked in, although both of these champs can now be flexed up towards the top lane a little
Mhm.
bit more effectively, especially Wukong got those stone skin buffs on the patch that make him pretty dangerous up there.
Yeah, definitely trying to help out top lane Wukong. I know the last round of changes didn't really bring back top lane Wukong as much as they wanted to. So we'll see. That is technically a flex. I'm leaning towards it being in the jungle since that has been Wukong's home for the past season and a half, I want to say now. Could have only been 1 season. Time is a fickle thing. Either way, though, don't know the solo laners just quite yet. There are some potential solo laners on the board, but as you can see, uh, Actually, with the Viego ban, it's hinting towards a top lane Volibear here, potentially, interestingly enough.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
Khan's read on the situation at least. Is they draw more top bans, by the way. The Urgot and the Mordekaiser are both going to bite it here. If they are going to be ones to flex that Wukong up to the top lane, I mean, it's definitely going to have a lot of value given how many bans they've kind of drawn on it. But that's still
Mhm.
something that is yet to be firmly determined. We're gonna have to keep our eyes on what they're going to select here. If they're going to want to commit to a mid laner this early, if they're going to want to kind of show their hand on the Volibear flex a little bit, both are options that are available to the death cards if they want them.
Yeah, depth cards, they definitely want to lock in a carry here because when you have Seraphine as either the bot lane or the mid laner, uh, that is kind of a glorified second support that does some decent damage. We see the Orianna locked in here for the death cards. That is a very well skilling mid laner here. And it is a very magic damage heavy composition. So I wouldn't be surprised if the death cards lock in, oh lord, an AD top laner here, maybe the Aatrox could be a potential. We'll have to see. But Khan, they are going to have to blind at least the top lane here.
Yeah, it's seeming most likely. So we'll see if they're going to cement that Wukong flex in either direction. I got to say, now having the full bot lane matchups face up for both the Seraphine Nautilus against the Son of Braum, I'm really curious to see how that's going to work out for the Seraphine on this current patch. I haven't gotten to see her lane too much, but I know that wave clear's gotten a lot worse, and that was kind of one of the best things she had going for her was that you could just play a
Mhm.
non-interactive bot lane and use high notes to clear out waves consistently. That's not quite as good of an option now. I
Mm.
do wonder what she's kind of left with in these matchups up against the Son of Braum. The Cho'Gath going to be the lock in here. That's likely going to be blind top lane. That puts the Wukong in the jungle. Can still flop those around if you really want to, but I don't think they're going to really want to. And now looking at a top lane, this is
Mm.
going to be miserable if it gets locked in. They just nerfed the Vayne top, but it's still an option. And oh boy, they could go for it. Or this could be like the unheard of Seraphine top tech.
Okay, I was looking like
All
Volibear.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't typically see the Vayne top here in comp 5v5, just usually because it's much easier to shut down the Vayne. You coordinate with your jungler, hey, I'll let wave crash on in, you just gank on top. So it's going to be the Volibear top here instead going into the Cho'Gath. There are a lot of options for what the Volibear can do here, whether it's AP, Bruiserish, or AD, we'll have to see. Either way, though, my biggest concern here right now, Gordo, is looking at the con composition. They don't really have the best sustained damage. I mean, Senna, Syndra, and Wukong as your main damage dealers, not really known for their prowess of cutting through health bars after like the first 5-ish seconds of a team fight. So we'll have to see how they navigate that here because that definitely can be an issue if the team fights do go on for an extended period of time, which is definitely likely when you're facing a Seraphine who can just spam that W.
Yeah, I mean the cooldown's way down versus where it was at in previous patches, so that's definitely a piece of power that's been allocated back into that Seraphine. We'll have to see. I'm still very concerned about the laning phase there, so how exactly that ends up playing out. Gonna have a huge influence on the rest of the game. If Riot is to be believed, she should be a lot worse in that kind of full-on major role now, and it should make it pretty difficult to actually play out up against the Son of Braum, who are kind of gonna be up in your face a little bit more, can take some of those trades pretty aggressively, and will be able to kind of match you in even the sustain department with Piercing Darkness and the healing that Senna can pump out. That's enough about bot lane, though. I want to talk about this top lane matchup a little bit as well. The Cho'Gath going to be the selection from Revnon. Going to be playing up against this Volibear. This is a matchup that they opt into here. I mean, they had the choice to try to put Shaden on something a little bit different in that top lane, and they chose to give him the Volibear that was already locked on in order to put Lexus on the Xin Zhao that flexes around to later on. So deciding that,
Mm.
hey, even up against this Cho'Gath, we're comfortable taking the Volibear. Whereas Revnon also, knowing that the Volibear top was a possible flex, he decides on that Cho'Gath. So it's an interesting situation where both players have kind of opted into this matchup.
Yeah, definitely interesting. It's gonna be Sub here in the top lane who's gonna have the most amount of just dictation or power slash influence over how the lane goes here as this Volibear because you can be very aggressive early as the Volibear, whereas the Cho'Gath you do kind of want to hit 6, get that feast, and just start stacking up. And Cho'Gath early laning tends to be a little more on the passive side. You're just looking to sustain on up with that passive. You have some nice tools with the Vorpal spikes to just kind of clear out waves. So we'll see. I I think it's gonna be a little bit of just bench champ in this top lane while both top laners farm it out, unless we see some slight overextensions or some jungler ganks come through.
Yeah, definitely could see a pretty calmer laning phase. And I do think that favors Revnon as it continues to go on. I mean, that Cho'Gath is still pretty strong coming into the later game, represents a big amount of one-shot threat towards pretty much anybody that isn't stacking health. And I don't think a lot of the death cards are that interested in stacking health. So going to be pretty powerful duo for them. This is going to cement that Zoronos is the one locking in the Seraphine, by the way. So they are going to be looking to farm up, presumably on that pick, give the Nautilus the support role, and kind of rely on that Volibear plus Xin Zhao duo to be your front line, buying you yourself that additional space and giving you room to actually play uh, coming into the later game.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely gonna be kind of pretty calm here across the rift. None of these lanes are too like super aggro. So I'm definitely gonna be looking towards Jim Cantor and 2004 Lexus here in the jungle matchup to see what they can do. 2004 Lexus as the Shinzao, I mean, you're able to do a lot early game if you're able to land the wind becomes lightning and then just knock them up with that 3 talent strike. You have lanes that can definitely set you up. All of your lanes, at least post 6, have hard CC that help you set up. So we'll see what this Shinzao and Wukong can do on the rift to try and get some of these lanes ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And then that mid lane, always an interesting matchup as well. We're going to have Puffles on the Syndra, taking that as the counter pick, deciding that they're going to try to brawl up against this Orianna in the early game. We'll have to see how exactly that's going to work out for Shredman here, who has gotten that really highly prized Orianna pretty early in the draft. And now that we're starting to see the runes, I got to call out the Hail of Blades on the Cho'Gath. That's a little bit more aggressive than the kind of slow
Yeah.
farming lane that you might have predicted.
Yeah, I'm going to u.gg right now to check if this is tech. I mean, it definitely sounds like tech.
It's
Come on, let
definitely
me
a
pro.
thing that people have done on
Yeah.
Cho'Gath before. It's not the
Oh
most
yeah, I see it
popular right
here.
now by any means, though. It's a spicy one.
Yeah, I'm seeing one trick. Or no, two one tricks are mostly taking up, but yeah, definitely interesting. It is an option. That kind of hints more towards a potential like AP centric Cho'Gath here. Because with the Halo Blaze, you can look to get the burst down with the Vorpal Strikes into Consume. Into the Feast. I believe that is the combo, but I've not seen this before because I'm just so used to it either being Comet on the Cho'Gath when you're going full AP because you just poke them down, or you just go Grass for brawling it on out. So, gonna be interesting to see if that gives this Cho'Gath some kill pressure here in that top lane.
Yeah, that is the question, right? Is just how much are they going to be able to get done and utilize those hail of blades? I know, the Volibear, if he's in melee range with you, it feels like you're already kind of losing that trade. So, an interesting selection to be sure. But it is a best of 3 tonight, so they will have some time to kind of feel these out, and this will be the only opportunity they get on the champs, as it is still Fearless Draft as well. So we'll have to find out if that is going to be the surprise matchup of the night that they are hoping for it to be over on the
Ooh.
side of Revnon. Like we talked about earlier, Con Esports have played through top lane a lot throughout
Hmm.
the regular season. They've made quite a bit happen around those kind of Mordekaiser-y picks. The Urgot as well have both been really, really important for them. Now opting into the Cho'Gath, maybe a little bit like Mordekaiser in spirit, but not exactly in execution, to see if it's still going to be a viable way for them to play, or if it's really going to start to become a little bit more focused on Aruf in the bot lane and Pierce Blade as well.
Yeah. Yeah, both these teams not exactly the highest damage output slash profiles on their team. I was talking about Khan earlier, but the death cards as well have that issue to a degree. Granted, we could see some Leandries come out here from the death cards, which can help get through the front line. So we might see some very long fights here when they do break out. Kind of curious how that will be.
Yeah, definitely lacking a little bit in the traditional DPS department, and that's going to be true for both sides. So we'll see who's going to be able to pick up that slack, if they're going to be able to find themselves a lead earlier on, or if they're just going to end up in these really, really drawn out fights. And I do see the argument for like Seraphine just getting so strong in that kind of situation. It's interesting because she was picked so early in the draft that they clearly still have a lot of priority on this pick. They didn't know that the draft was going to work out this way, but the way that the chips have fallen, I mean, it just makes Seraphine feel so strong coming into the later game. She's still got a lot of those tools that made her a really powerful scaler in the past. Not quite the wave clear portion that gets you through that early and mid game, but if you are able to end up in a later game situation and still at pretty much parity, that Seraphine's going to have a whole bunch of additional value. With that said, though, looks like we're ready to get into game number 1. We're going to throw it over to Slayer and Bonfire on the cast for the night. So take it away, guys. Game number 1 kicking off right now.
Thank you so much, Gordo. I'm talking slow because this game is going to last 50 years, Bonfire.
Yeah, not a lot of damage on either team. And a lot of
We're cooking
skilling.
something, baby, but boy, does it. This is like, I would equate this to cuisine-wise, it's like great barbecue. If you want real great barbecue in America, you don't realize it when you buy it, but it probably takes a half a day's worth of full preparation, 4 straight hours of cooking before it actually gets to you. We're at the start of the barbecue day with these two games, man. I mean, yeah, there is damage, but there's just like the burst ability on either one of these squads is pretty low.
Well, also, there's so many tanks as well. There's a Braum, there's a Cho'Gath, a Volibear, a Nautilus. There's bruisers on both.
You got Wukong and Xin Zhao, yeah.
There's a Seraphine for shielding. There's a Senna for healing. It really is just going to be the longest fights of all time. And I really worry about the lack of damage on both teams. Because Seraphine, Orianna, Sidra, and Senna aren't exactly the best raw damage champions in the game. I think they mentioned it, in the draft. So we'll see. I think if one team can really start to snowball, it can be an incredibly oppressive game. But if it goes even, yeah, you're right. We're in for a long one.
I do know that this game's a bit of a former friends versus each other kind of deal. I know it's being mentioned in the Twitch chat. I apologize for not knowing exactly who is facing who former friends. The only one I can remember is I'm pretty darn certain that Pierceblade was a longtime Death Cards player and now has joined Con Esports, who, to be honest with you, as I cover 2 leagues at this level now. Con Esports has been just as dominant in the Aegis equivalent of the Mythical League as they have in Divine. So this team is definitely just as polished and as advertised across multiple leagues. And I feel like that says a bit more about their success in one of them alone.
Yeah, it's one of those teams. I think that in this level of amateur League of Legends, there's just some organizations that really haven't figured out and have a really good understanding of how to build teams and how to best kind of theory craft. Con definitely one of them, and it's been a good season for them here in Risen 4-0 going into this in the regular season. They want to keep the ball rolling. They want to show that they have more to prove. But it's going to have to start now, and right now early in the bot lane, Seraphine, late game might not have the raw damage, but early on that poke, very annoying to have to go into.
Yeah, extremely annoying. This Cho'Gath, I think, is going to be one of the more unkillable people into the comp that he's facing, especially considering this looks like it's kind of the drain tank. Well, mostly tank is what I wanted to emphasize there. Volibear from Shaden, as we do see Heroics is going for a mid lane gank, so he gets on the rift with that Nautilus, makes Puffles feel a bit threatened, but I do not think there will be first blood for a while. As long as summoners are up, I think everyone's going to be okay.
Yeah, just keep an eye on the Wukong and the Xin Zhao. I suppose those are really going to be the linchpin in starting a potential fight. But other than that, like you said, it's a lot of disengage and a lot of tanks. I don't see it happening either. I think we should keep an eye on the itemization, because I have very strong feelings on what this Cho'Gath builds. If there's anything that's armor, I'm going to be very frustrated, because this is like the best Kayn game of all time. You're doing Seraphine, Orianna, Volibear. Like, don't overthink it. I know there's a Xin Zhao, but come on. This should be such a good Kanix game.
I mean, you should definitely get one armor item because it's a full tank Cho'Gath. Hold on, great stun there. Comes across from Puffles, guy of the week. But it doesn't look like Jim Cantore really wanted to jump forward with that one. But yeah, back to your point, because I'm sure we'll be able to go through all your points today. There's still some good armor items. Like I wouldn't hate a Thormail. There's a decent amount of healing, and shielding is. You do get a Dredge line to land. Stun comes across for Braum on a Pierceblade, but this is Seraphine's setup bottom lane, man. Nobody's dying when hooks or stuns are landed.
Yeah, look, it's all about the stacks, I guess, right? Maybe just trying
True.
to trade some early damage across, but like you said, nobody's dying. Everybody going to be able to survive. I think also a lot of it's going to come down to farming, right? I think that when there's a lot of high pressure, high octane gameplay, it's all about the kills and the assists and objectives. But this game, it's really going to showcase, who's the better farmer, who can last hit, who can wave manage better. And so far, every lane fairly even, but if one lane really starts surging ahead, that could be a huge difference maker in the mid to late game as well.
Well, it looks like Jim Cantore is looking to potentially make it a bot side play here. We do have Grubs up as well. We immediately spotted out. Dredgeline out for Heroics, and
Back to
yeah,
sleep.
that's back to sleep, right? And now we're going to get the standard Season 14 handshake where Alexis is going to get all 3 Void Grubs, and I assume Jim Cantore with those double longswords will likely just jump on this first Drake, so nothing but the usual.
You'd imagine so, taking a bit longer than you'd expect right now just because of the Syndra taking a reset and not expending teleport. Also, this Senna hasn't backed yet either, so this is not going to be easy. Ooh, Revnon might have to flash here.
Yeah, does. Shaden does not have ultimate available, so no Stormbringer. Still likes his odds in this 1v1. Revnon, flashless, a couple more autos. The Ghost popped. The move speed is there. Puffle shows up first, though. Looking to line up a good scatter of the week. Maybe look for a turn. Does land the stun. Jim Cantore, though, will not opt to go in. And they just succeed in the rescue mission. No trade kills back. That was one hell of a dredge line, though.
Whoa.
And hold on, Pierce Blade very low all of a sudden. Has to expend the flash and the exhaust and will barely limp out of a bot lane exchange doing so.
Yeah, it took just a little bit longer than I expected to put that shield up. And like I said, that pesky Seraphine damage, it sneaks up on you. Now the Zinzao might be caught. Should be okay, but has to burn that flash to get out and lulls you to sleep. I should be able to get out.
Hail of
Hold on a
Blades on this
second,
Cho'Gath means he can drop a ton of damage. One more Devour will do it in first blood to the jaws of Revnon.
Really felt like the Lexus could drive itself out right there, but got impounded. Got a boot put on the tire, and that is just a good way to die. Give over the first blood. It is over to the Cho'Gath, but I don't think you're happy about giving it over in any regard, especially because that means Cho'Gath is just going to get tankier. And just a couple of oversteps from really everybody. In the bot lane, the Braum overstepping, has to burn flash. Obviously, we saw Revnon having a flash on the Cho'Gath. And then Lexus trying just to jump a little bit further. As we look to the itemization, this is going to be an AP Volibear. I don't understand it. I think that's a terrible decision.
We're over-indexing, baby.
What is
so he
going
has
on?
a tier. Am I stupid? I mean, does tier only build into 2 things right now? It's not. No, there's a
No,
third.
there's tank ones, Thimblewinter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not as well versed with the tank ones. You said thermal winter.
Thimblewinter. I'm almost positive.
Winter. Yeah, okay.
Your
Well,
one.
this is why you're here to bail me out. So yeah, so probably going that route with his first item there. And really quickly back to your first point, it is a blessing if a Cho'Gath can get a champion kill stack early on in the game, because usually you're just getting your 6 off minions. But to get that one early is certainly going to feel nice. It's pretty nice to take a dragon when you have no vision on it if you are the death cards, which does mean that at least Lexus, despite the early woes, will pick up the first 2 key neutral objectives with minimal congestion.
Yeah, early game Xin Zhao. Bot lane just has continuous push, so makes it fairly easy to take that in the bot side. And, Volibear is going to be stronger than Cho'Gath early on. So you get that. You get those early objectives like you were talking about. You're not mad about that. And, as a whole, neither team is really in too big of a hole. Everyone's feeling pretty fine. Again, we're fairly even in terms of the gold. Nobody's farming much better than anybody else. It's a bit of a boring early game, if I'm going to be perfectly candid with you. But there's still time for things to heat up.
I will say for the Khan main damage dealers, that's kind of what you want out of a lane. Syndra used to be a lot more of a early game lane bully with her splinter stack. She's subsided away to get to those item breakpoints, and then obviously a farming Senna is just going to want to farm. But we're going to get a 3v3 in the bottom lane because screw all that logic. Here's the flash forward. Dim Cantoni going right for the Seraphine, but doesn't see Lexus there, who immediately answers the flash. Zeranos is safe. Great encore, will grab 2. Does Lexus have the burst damage? He will slam the Wukong home, and the Death Brush paying off here for the Death Cards. They might even double up a second. The Dawning Shadow only delaying the inevitable as Pierce Blade falls as well. Lexus claiming that one, 2 back for the Death Cards.
Yeah, very, very well played for the Death Cards right there. SDC, it's Lexus just setting up in the brush and making sure his bot lane feels comfortable. I'm not sure if they had vision on Jim Cantore or if it was just lucky, but at the end of the day, you need a little bit of luck and a little bit of skill, and that is how you win these games. Now they're in the lead. Now they've got themselves a very strong position to be in, and they get some gold on this Xin Zhao, which is very important because going for these early objectives, as you can see, the Xin Zhao needs to be the one making the things happen, and if the Xin Zhao's behind, not really going to work. So getting early kills on the Xin Zhao feels really, really good.
Certainly does. Puffles getting those splinter stacks also going to feel pretty good as well. Shredman taking a bit of poke, but the entire bottom lane for SDC has roamed over here with the second grub spawning. You can really tell the Lexus wants to prio, pushing that avenue of a lead with how elongated this game could turn into.
Yeah, I understand this decision. You want to go for these void grubs, get some good split pushing, you know, force them to match on side lanes, but I think you're giving the Sun an or a way back into the bot lane. Now they have a 20 CS advantage. They're going to get a couple plates in the bot side. The Seraphine's going to get next to nothing in the mid lane. I just think that in the long run, I understand that you want the strength that Void Grubs gives you in side laning, but I don't understand it. And yeah, now Zeranos could be in some danger. Does seem like they're being smart about how they're pathing. But the issue is they're, again, missing out on another wave, and they're giving over even more to this Senna.
And this was really well timed because Puffles and company knew that a reset was coming out for Shredman, so it's not like Puffles was even sacrificing any lane prio or even farm, like losing farm to go set up in that jungle. So really well heads up play from Khan, which, yeah, I do want to point out though, just to reinforce the idea this game's going on forever, a dope hoof? I don't know if I'm butchering that, to be honest with you. They are going for the most hard scaling Senna build ever. We're not talking any lethality items. There's no Yomus. He slams a Kraken. He is going for full turbo scaling Senna, which takes a bit longer to get online.
Yeah, but I think you need to. When you're going into the front line of a Nautilus and a Volibear and a Xin Zhao with ultimate up, getting all that healing, you need to be able to shred through those tankier members. Lethality just won't do that. So I think it's the correct decision. It's going to take a bit longer, but as we've both said, we have time. So it is, I think it's going to pay off in the long run, and I think they're going to be happy that they did it. And again, with getting this early farm advantage in the bot side, after, you know, SDC roamed everybody over to Void Grubs, you have that advantage. I mean, they got 2 plates and a 30 CS advantage right now on the bot side. So things are going well for this Senna. I feel like this is a really great position to be in.
And now they're all going to start prioing.
You just yawned.
That was not me. That was a ghost to the analyst desk.
Oh, wow.
It must have been a ghost to the analyst desk. I don't know. Or somebody. Somebody's obviously bored by the first 12 minutes here in our game, but I do want to make sure we stat check 2 of the damage dealers here for Khan as well. I guess we can technically stat check 3 because we could check how many stacks Revnon's got going for his evolution.
Yeah, a lot of stacks.
So he's up 5. So 6 is as many as you can get from normal minions. So he's got 4 of those from normal minions, and then he obviously got first blood, nomming down on Lexus. So he's a good spot. Puffles, you're just looking to get through those breakpoints. I know he has 2. He could store one of those spheres.
Ooh, a fight.
And yeah, we could actually get a fight here. Well, Revnon's teleporting top, so it's 5v4.
I guess they're just gonna sack it. They don't want to.
Woo!
SDC continuously is just going to continue to group up on these early objectives. Seems like they know where their priorities land. This is going to get Revnon a little bit of a lead in the top side, especially because this Volibear burned teleport to go for that fight in the bot side. Or a potential fight in the bot side. Revnon's going to take some tower shots. But again, that's another wave that you're leaving out. And
okay. The dredge line's gonna land back onto Adopu. First roam is gonna be Lexus, who nearly has a set of flash on top of him. He will respond flash. Great Glacial Fissure backwards from Pierceblade. Might have just saved Adopu. The only reason the Senna limps away is Pierceblade's valiant sacrifice. Puffles down the middle of everybody. They're looking for the Bromstone. They will trade Lexus back as the first roam goes the way of Khan. But Shredman nearly finds himself with a kill as the dredge line just whiffs from Heroics. Everybody's gonna limp away here, but Pierceblade's valiant sacrifice, the leading storyline.
Yeah, keeping his AD carry alive. They should be okay as Shaden continues to push back in the top side. We've more fighting, you know. It's things are happening. You love to see it, but it's still kind of slow. They look, it's a 1-for-1, but the gold lead still doesn't really. The needle doesn't move that much. I do want to quickly go over the itemization because you talked about getting an some armor on this Cho'Gath. I don't know if I love a Bramble. I think it's not terrible, but when you think of auto attack champions on this team, it's the Xin Zhao and it's I guess you could say it's a Volibear, but
yeah, it's 100%
only in the laning. Only in the laning, realistically. I don't know. I think it'll be fine for now, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think you get a lot out of it because Volibear's healing is stupid. You can cut down on that. Xin Zhao has passive healing. And then any member that has, the Grievous wounds can't benefit from Seraphine healing as much, which I'm a fan of. So I like.
I guess you are going into a Spirit Visage on this Volibear, so I guess I understand that. Uh-oh, Zeranos.
Okay, all right. Zeranos still getting dove here. Pierceblade takes a turret aggro, and that makes it as simple as ever when Braum is the one taking up the turret. He doesn't even care about the 4 turret shots. Big time kill back over to Jim Cantore.
Yeah, they do lose the Rift Herald for that. Again, the defining storyline of this game so far, trading side laning for neutral objectives. So Lexus is still 100% on getting these early objectives, but they're going to lose their first tower. And we keep talking about this Senna, has the 30 CS advantage, got a second assist right there, and was able to get first tower. And all
right,
I
drift him.
Trying to drop a ward there. Oh. Okay, well, getting that early Rift Herald was kind of useless, though. Unless they can take this tower and use it, but I don't think
yeah, I don't know, but I think they're gonna get the turret.
Oh, hold on.
All right, you know what? That could have been a lot worse. So
could have been
they
better.
get the mid turret. That'll open up the map a lot more, especially to play around those neutrals that Lexus likes.
Yeah, I guess that's not the end of the world, like you said. It keeps this gold difference not too far away, although it is still, at this point, in Khan's hands with that first turret going over. As hopefully we'll get our first team fight soon. Feels like Khan has been much happier just letting the side lanes speak for themselves, but at a certain point they have to start contesting, especially with Soul Point coming up in a minute and a half.
Man, you know what I'm realizing?
What's up?
Adopoof is uber indexing in a armor pen already. He has the, what is that still called, Last Whisper? That item component builds into only armor pen shredding items. So it's probably going to be, I would assume, an LDR.
Yeah, it'll be.
But that's crazy to build second after a Kraken. Like, there are only a finite amount of games where that would be remotely justifiable. And funnily enough, I actually think we're in one of them. So
yeah, you're not really going to be able to one-shot a lot of the squishies. And even beyond the armor, you also need the penetration to get through a lot of the shields and just the general annoyingness that this composition provides from SDC. So I think it's probably the right decision. As we're looking at the top side, I'll tell you this for free. This is going to be a lot of what we see for the next 20 minutes. Just those two's battling that.
All right, Pierceplade's certainly happy to be the one to get jumped out, especially with the shield up. Gonna look for a turn. Great Sky of the Week's going for Puffles. Lex is gonna limp away, but Pierceblade got too far forward after all the stuns have been dropped. Kind of a freebie given right over.
Yeah, it's a really good ultimate right there from Shredman. The Orianna just getting the shockwave, pulling him back in. I think that, the Pierceblade thought, well, I'll just be able to hop to a teammate, but really, really good job layering their CC. They pick off the Braum. Another kill goes over to SDC. They've brought this gold fairly even. Jim Cantore might be in some danger.
Yep, that's a defensive Cyclone used. No shockwave to back up the damage. Jim Cantore has to flash out. Lexus' Crescent Guard keeping him topped off. Teleport coming in from Shaden. This is still a 5v4. Pierce Blade running back here, but a lot of key ultimates already down here for Con Esports, yet they still want to push the issue. Revnon leading the charge out at Takey Cho'Gath, who are looking to burn down Shane. He utilizes the Stormbreaker. Great encore grabs both the carries of the Con Esports. They get double knocked up by the depth charge. Lexus finally wants to try and kill one of them off. The shutdown will come across. The Senna staying untapped, but all her front line is dying around her. Revnon soon to fall. Jim Cantori running out. Pierce Blade will die in nearly the same spot from last game. The shield of the Freljord, the only thing saving him. Flashes galore. Jim Cantore drops off, and here come the death cards. Dreadline Lance or Heroics, and it's just a mop-up.
Yeah, that is a mop-up, and they played so perfectly around, like you said, the timers, you know, understanding that a lot of those big engage ultimates are down, and so they could press the go. They could take the initiative. It's a good Seraphine ult that lands on 3. And then, honestly, for me, the real hero there was the Nautilus. Getting both carries with the ultimate and getting the hook onto Puffles early ensured that the front line and the back line were split. We were able to get, I believe, 3 or 4 of them down.
4.
And they get their gold lead back, and they're on sole point right now for the Dragons. So this game, this slow, brisket cooking game, continues to go forward. Where would you say we're at the barbecue cooking process? I feel like
I think we just threw him into the smoker, to be honest.
We threw it into the smoker? All right. Well, that means that we're going to have some delicious food later, which is very exciting.
Yeah, well, the delicious food for SDC is the soul of choice. I mean, in this game, to get a mountain soul as your soul that you could grab at 25 minutes that might actually seal the game, is what I'm trying to say.
Mountain is maybe the most annoying soul to have to go into with this team comp. I just think that God, the tankiness of this team is going to be so unbelievable. Also, kind of somebody that went under the radar in that last fight, Shaden had a really, really good fight on this Volley Bear. I don't know how they're going to get through this Volley Bear. I think that the healing is going to be very, very difficult. And I don't think that they have the army pen for it. And this is when we're talking about both of these drafts. We heard Gordo and Gilferino talking about it. There's just a lack of damage. Both teams really going to struggle to get through the front line. So it's just who's going to be able to do it first and what front line's going to stand taller. I think in that last fight we saw, this Volley Bear is going to stand fairly tall throughout the entire game.
There are avenues for STC to actually punish this Senna and Syndra. It's not simple, but you have a long distance encore you can land. Depth charge can pick out anybody through the front line. And if you can set up a shockwave pretty well, it might be enough to delete this Senna. On the side of Khan, they have 0 ways, in my mind, to get enough damage to the back line. The only person I can see getting there would be Jim Cantore, but this Wukong isn't Giga-fed. Later in the game, Wukong won't be able to burn through Seraphine and Orianna shielding. And as good as Syndra is as bursting down, her stun lock really requires lining up people, and most of the time the front lane are just going to be eating those Sky of the Weeks and not be able to see the damage get a lot further through. So with the game state we have, this is still far from easy for Con Esports, if not worse.
Yeah, I think that it just comes down to not even worrying about getting to the back line. It's just how quickly can you burn the front line. It's just both of these teams playing ridiculously front to back, and so who's going to stand taller? The Volibear and the Nautilus, or the Cho'Gath and the Braum? And so far, this Braum has really not been the tank that I think we've expected. It's really felt like paper sometimes. Meanwhile, this Nautilus has been very, very difficult to kill. In fact, impossible to kill. 2-0-5 right now, deathless. 7 of 8 KP. So this Nautilus has been much, much stronger than this Braum has been. So we'll have to see as the itemization comes along if that will continue to be the case, or if this Braum will start to find his way back into this game. Because if you can block a Seraphine ult, you've made it so that, you know, oh, you belong in this composition.
I remember back in the day where there was an internal argument if Braum should be able to block Seraphine ult, because I think for a while it didn't like go through him or something, and it was like, wait, he has his shield up. Why is this going through him? It's been a while since I've seen those interactions. Speaking of interactions, though, this top laner is struggling out. It used to be a bit Revnon favored. It's quite the opposite now in the current state.
Volibear is one of those champions where you're not going to hear a lot in high-level league, but in this lower/mid-level, it's just very strong. It's very difficult to get through. The healing is pretty unbelievable, and especially in the 1v1s, especially in the tanks, just very difficult to punish it. And you have the Void Grubs as well, so you can't just leave this Volibear on a side lane. You have to somehow find a way to clear waves into it and give it the time of day, which I'm sure they do not want to have to do. We'll have to see what their answer is for the Volibear later on, but so far Shaden has really feasted and had a great game so far. 2-0, 190 CS, doing better than Revnon. We'll have to see once they get a couple more items if they can continue to be the thorn in Khan's side.
Just slammed another tank item there.
Yeah.
Is that the one that gives the MR shield?
Yeah, I
I'm
think
so... no, it's
shielding and
not.
healing.
It's not the one that gives the passive shield. That I was thinking about, though.
No,
Yeah,
it's not.
this game's gonna stall out a bit because both top tier 1s are up and Baron is up, and that just makes it so wacky to try and set up Prio for it. Everyone prioritizing the Dragon here, though, for right now, as we do see a fight potentially breaking out. Jimkatori gonna drop the first Cyclone pretty early. Lexus, though, get conjured up a little bit for himself, has the backing of the shielding and healing. Jimkatori having to flash out. Dawning Shadow tickles the front line of the Death Cards, but Shane immediately gets popped out of nowhere. The Encore just a bit late from Zeranos. And Connie Esports have a window. 4-man Shockwave will land, but it's not enough damage over top just yet. Jimkatori able to get out. Shredman able to poke down the support, but it's a trade at the end of the day. It's still a man advantage here for Con Esports. They've got the health bars, and thank God they're going to stop the Dragon stacking unless Lexus has something cooking in the pot.
Yeah, ooh, Shredman has to be careful. One of these Senna, you get two Senna, autos on him, you could die. They want to contest this. They want to go for a steal, but you cannot afford to lose all your members. Oh boy,
Lexus
we're on a
still
nice
looking
point
for
here.
it. He's too late. Smite rings through, and now it's alarm bells ringing for the two mages. Zeranos eats a huge Kraken Slayer chunk, has to flash away from the Revnon knockup as well. Key Summoner late off of this Seraphine. And those shields really, though, keeping STC in the fight. They're going to teleport back in here. That's
a great
Shaden coming
teleport.
in. Revnon and Puffles way too low. Puffles having to flash over a wall. Shane with the ghost pop, looking for Hunt. Lexus going for the cutoff. Puffles will able to limp out, though. Adopoof able to save him. They burn Lexus. Shane goes for the Stormbreaker. He just wants Puffles, but he can't have him. One final slam down will get it. Shredman having to flash out now on the other side of the fight, as this is just complete chaos. Shane's trying to recall between two turrets. Now thinks all his only option is an execute, which he won't get granted by Revnon, who chomps down on his body to finally end the bloodshed.
Oh my goodness, all over the place that fight was. If we jump back to the original fight before that dragon, it was really, really good. But now they're teleporting top side, and Revnon wants to continue the fight, wants to keep going. Slayer, how's those lungs?
They're doing good. They're getting tested. I have an inhaler on hand if needed, and luckily it won't be needed because Revnon's CP was purely a beating of the chest.
Well, hold on a second, because here comes the Baron take. They want to force them into another fight, it seems like. They feel like they have the tempo, especially with Shaden down for another 10 seconds, but they do not go through this quickly at all. Like molasses.
Shocker, right?
Like a knife through molasses. And so they have to turn off of it and burn a teleport for nothing. But man, he's just back and forth. I was gonna say before that teleport came across is hold on a second. Oh jeez, more fighting.
Oh no. Alright, Crescent Guard up, which means 0 damage is coming through because the only 2 damage dealers are ranged on Con Esports.
Alright.
Yeah, we're good.
Point?
We're good.
I think I can make my point. I was gonna say the original fight, it was a really great pick because Treadman was clearing waves. And so they were able to pick off Shaden and I believe Lexus, or no, Hero, early on. And so that is what Khan needs to do. They need to find a way to fight before the damage dealers come across. I feel like that's a very simple thing to say, but they did a very good job there. They're able to get a dragon, they're able to get a bunch of kills, almost able to get a Baron, but we're not able to do so. And so they find themselves back in this game. This is the 28-minute mark, and I really have no clue what team's going to win. I feel like I made it clear.
One of the tier 1 top turrets is up. The other one just fell. And we're at 28 minutes.
I know. I feel like I've made it
Oh,
clear.
it hasn't fallen. I was wrong. Sorry.
I think STC has the better composition, but I don't know, man. It really feels like who can get the pick earlier, and both these teams still jostling for control at 28 minutes.
If we could throw a highlight on the Adopoof Senna build, I don't know what's getting cooked anymore. There's a Dirk, there's a heel cut item, which would really only build into more armor pen, which would seem redundant with the LDR. At some point, you're gonna want to get the Senna Classic Rapid Fire Cannon, maybe some crit going here, because I don't know what this turns into from Senna.
I'd imagine they're going for some anti-heal, especially going into this Volibear. You really need all the anti-heal you can get. But I'm with you. It does feel a little bit like, where's the damage going to come from? But we'll have to see. I feel like the Sen has done good damage, even with the strange items.
Oh yeah, I'm just the build is just throwing me for a loop.
It's a little all over the place. I'll give you that. Although this game as a whole is a little all over the place. I don't feel like we see these types of compositions that often. So I'm not used to casting this. These weird compositions all across the board. I will say, Jim Cantore, I feel like we have not sung the praise of this Wukong that much. It hasn't really been a great Wukong game, but has had some great knockups and has had some important plays so far. So it's not nothing. And Shaden's going to knock down this
Oh my
bot,
god, a
but
turret falls to minions.
can you believe it?
Okay, Fierce Blade to get rooted. Jim Cantore, what are we doing? Okay, finally gets the knockup. They do have Shredman in the middle of all these guys, and Jim Cantore is going to find the Orianna through the front line, but the SDC are going to bite back here. Lexus and Shane exactly want to be in the middle of everybody, slam it down. Great scatter of the week from Puffles hits 3, and now Jim Cantore and Revnon, the unkillable Cho'Gath, looking for a turn of their own. Every carry drops off the board, and now we get the wet noodle fight.
Yeah, Slayer, it looked good right there at the beginning. SDC had really grouped everybody on Khan together. There's no way they can fight this. They have 0 damage, and they recognize that they just want to clear the wave. It felt like SDC had everybody in Khan in a small bubble. They had got them all together. I mean, this Senna and this Syndra were in a place they did not want to be. They're going to fight Shade. I just don't think they have enough damage for Shaden, and Shaden's just going to walk himself out. But unfortunately, Puffles found a way out. A great flash from the Syndra ensured that they were able to survive. And I was talking about the Wukong. I'm glad I brought it up, because Jim Cantore was the real hero there, taking the aggression, getting Shredman out of the fight early, and realistically, that's most of their damage. If we're being honest, that's most of their damage. And so once this Orianna fell, before they were even able to drop an ultimate, it feels like even though SDC did a good job wrangling everybody together and killing the Senna, they just don't have enough damage on top of it, so they lose the fight. They lose the Dragon too.
Yep. Top tier 1 has fallen. Took 30 minutes, but one of them dropped off. Shredman grabs Khan Esports as top tier 1. So hopefully now these teams will be a little more comfortable trying to set up vision around this Baron. I got to think that was what's hindering them. And it does look like right now, the Death Cards have a ton of great vision. And yeah, with it, they're just going to immediately start up this Baron. They spot Revna on the bot side. He has teleport. Puffles is top. There's no way to really even answer this.
I don't even think they know it's going down right now. Blue Ward not up for the Senna, and so they have no clue what's happening. They don't see anybody on the map. Alarm bells probably, yep, they're pinging it now, but it's too late. And a Baron sneak? Okay, we're all over the place, Slayer.
Bingo card, man. Oh, Serrano's got a root there. I thought they were going to immediately try and slam a Dopoof, but they don't. Mid turret traded for Baron. All right, we'll take those when we can, Khan Esports. Serpent Fang completed for the Senna. That's what I thought the Dirk would go into, as the Senna build is very one-game oriented, this one that we're in.
Yes.
I'm curious if we get a stack check on some of these people. Is the Senna, where's the Senna at? Where's the Syndra? All right, Senna is at nearly at 100 at 30. That's you just want to get to 100 on fasting Senna, or farming Senna. Syndra's got all of her splinters, so she has that execute on her ultimate now, the extra AP given over, and 8 for Revnon, with 2 of them going from champions.
Well, you would also have to imagine at this point, dragons are probably a free stack. So unless it's a smite fight, but at a certain point, keep an eye on Revnon, because it's going to get to be kind of unkillable. If you thought that it was difficult enough to do damage to Jim Cantore and this Wukong, I just don't see this Cho'Gath going down. The only thing that could really drop this Cho'Gath is another Meteor, which I just don't think is going to happen. So we'll have to see. But all of my fears are being realized. My nightmare in real time is happening. It is just a tank battle. It's just, I mean, these fights are going to go on forever, Slayer.
They certainly will, and the range on both sides is only going to get worse. Serranos is nearly at 3 items on the Seraphine, where the shielding will become problematic. We already talked about Adufuf, who is very much on schedule with a farming Senna as well. The question becomes now, how much can SDC get with this Baron? Because so far, it's not much.
Yeah. So far, it's been nothing. They have not gotten a single tower down. They do have waves shoved in, and I think they should be able to knock down this middle one right now as they just are threatening with the Nautilus with 4 people. Yep, that is going to be a mid tower falling.
All right, Glacial Fissure gets Shredman, exhaust immediately out. He has to flash out. The Brimstone will land through Dawning Shadow. It's enough. Jim Cantori able to kill off Shredman once more. The Encore is going to land onto 4 people from Serranos, but where is the rest of the damage without Shredman? Sheen wants to put his bit in for it, but he's stunned up, thrown against the wall, and Puffles grabs that one. It's another fight where Khan knocked down Shredman, and they're going to take so much with it.
Oh my goodness. Again, long fights, just very high health bars, but as I was saying earlier, and as you just brought up, you kill Shredman, you probably win the fight. If you kill the Orianna, there's not a lot more damage coming across. I mean, this, by the way, this Seraphine has no magic penetration. They have built 0 magic penetration so far. They don't even have magic pen boots. And so once you're able to kill Shredman, it's just as easy as that. Jim Cantori could die right here. And yeah, Jim Cantori,
no flash.
What was that?
He's just dead. So that's a big kill to bring back. Lexus gets that wave all the way towards the bot side. And they end up actually trading tier 2s, but with that shutdown, Death Guards kind of come down top of that one, especially with this next dragon respawning just seconds after Jim Cantori can even get back on the map.
I don't understand that from Jim Cantori. I just, that tower's gonna fall. It's a Baron buffed minions, and like you said, you die. You really can't set up super well for what has been working, right? Getting any type of CC on Shredman and following that up immediately with engage from Jim Cantori. You're not gonna be able to do that as easily because Jim Cantori is just gonna be showing up late to the party. I just don't understand that, Slayer, and that could have disastrous consequences because this is a big dragon. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one, but they're going to be able to clear all of this vision. They're going to have no worry about a Wukong ultimate getting onto their carries. And with Dragon up in, well, now, I mean, that's massive.
All ultimates available on either side. Lexus knows that they have time on their hands, and they're just going to try and burn Jim Cantori. He's going to have to go for basically a Miracle Steal with the clone over the wall. They'll drag it out. Herox is cut off for the rest of the squad. Adufuf is getting 3 shots, and Jim Cantori wants Lexus. Great stun chain. Can they burn through the Crescent Guard? Lexus will fall to Revdon, and here comes Khan once more. Always able to find the angles into those priority targets, and it's gotten them back ahead in game number 1. They're going to pick up the Drake, get themselves to Soul Point, and they're not going to stop there. Revdon flashing after Zerados, immediately matched. Adufuf flashing as well. They want this Seraphine. The Prob Stun will sing it home. A killing spree for Revdon, and Khan Esports might just call game in the slowest play of the Mythical League.
What's the opposite of explosive? That's what that was. It was an implosive game. Oh, they're gonna kill them all.
Yep, great double sky of the week for Puffles. Shredman will fall once more. Shaden falling on top of that, and it took what felt like a minute, felt like a year, to be honest.
Yeah.
But we are finally going to see the undefeated Khan Esports stamp their claim on this upper bracket quarterfinal series.
Slayer, that was an incredible game. I never want to see it again. That was the slowest, most methodical 80s basketball game I've ever seen. And Khan Esports will come out the victor. But realistically, we all come out the losers. Hey, look. I know that I'm saying it was a terrible game. It was not a terrible game. There was good plays from both teams.
No.
Jim Cantori had some great fights. There was some great CC chains. Khan played it pretty well at a lot of points. It was just slow. It was methodical. It was drawn out. It was all about wave management. But at the end of the day, Khan did what they needed to do. They had some really great engages. They really were able to pick off on the priority targets. I felt like the Wukong alongside the Syndra, or really anybody who got any form of CC. Jim Cantori is my MVP for that game. Because those last 3 fights that won them the game, it was any form of CC, Jim Cantori immediately hops in and ultimates on the Wukong. So they did what they needed to do. That Senate damage is absurd. So, talk about the build all you want, but it worked out, I guess.
Yeah,
And,
I mean,
I never want to see it again.
I mean, it's partially I would say more the game state that I don't think Adufuf was ever under threat, ever, except one point. But no, great positioning on the Senna. And yeah, 35k is very good. I think Pierce Blade's Braum was also pretty good towards the end. I mean, how often are you gonna find a Glacial Fissure where you're for as a pick? Like Braum, that ult is not meant to pick off people. You're using
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
defensively, and he ends up finding Shredman when the first fight that really went their way. But that gold graph certainly shows this was a back and forth affair that took all the time allotted to get there. And luckily, folks, we're not going to waste too much time moving on here with this series. But before we think about game 2 at all, I got to hear from Gordo and Gofrino, guys. What did you think of Con Esports' battling to get this 1-0 lead in the quarterfinals?
Oh, we'll
What?
get Gofrino on in
I'm
here.
here.
He's been typing
Hello?
away. Oh, we can't see you on cam. Your cam might be
Oh, I think my cam froze. Let me refresh Fido.
All right. Well, it's okay. It's fine. Everybody
Yeah.
can look at me. I'll talk to start us off while Gofrino figures that out. All right.
I mean,
I
I'm
got
here.
some complaints, Gofrino. I got a couple of criticisms. For one thing, listen, guys, I know 80 carries in a
Uh-oh.
rough spot right now. I know we're making 5 Reddit threads a day about it. I get it. Sometimes they do things well, and I think one thing they do well is being able to actually work through these big tanky frontliners, and both teams maybe missing that capability a little bit as this game comes to fruition. It really starts to affect death cards as we start to get towards the mid game. And aside from the lack of consistent DPS, I got to take some issue with the second items that we see coming across from both of the damage dealers in the Seraphine and the Orianna. Orianna goes item 2 Rabadon's, Seraphine goes item 2 Rylai's. And I think when you're facing down this Cho'Gath and this Braum and this Wukong, we're all just stacking MR in your face, you probably need to just bite the bullet and get your early Crypt Blooms at those points. You know, you go for Void Staff if you want. I don't hate the Void Staff out of Orianna that comes in third. But you really, I feel like that we needed some earlier Crypt Blooms here. Syndra got the memo. She got 1 second and comes up dealing a lot more damage when everything's said and done.
Yeah, it definitely was an uphill battle for SDC with their composition, no matter how they itemized, because your primary damage is coming from 2 magic damage dealers. It sounds like we have the first replay ready here. This is at least early enough in the game where everybody's still doing damage to the front line. Gordo, if you want to break this one on down.
Yeah, no, so, I mean, this is, where things are happier times for the death cards, where they're actually able to pump out a little bit of damage, at least to start this off. They get Jim Cantore pretty low when all is said and done. Then the engage is forced over here. This is also a great ulti angle from Zoronos. You can see a similar fight occurs later on where that ultimate gets blocked by Pierce Blade. That makes a critical difference there as well. But you can just see they just have the damage output to be able to work through him here. A lot of that actually does come through Shaden. I mean, he gets to just run on through and finish the job. Then just the 3v2 over on this bottom side is so difficult to navigate for the bottom lane. Jim Cantore going to end up going on down there, and an attempted re-engage, or actually a shockwave back in from a Dufuf, is going to end up costing them their life as well. It's a 3-for-1 fight when all's said and done for SDC. And that's the fight that you felt like you could have transitioned it into actually being able to snowball away with the lead here, it feels like, if you had gone for some of that earlier Magic Pen.
It's just kind of hard for both these teams to snowball here. The scariest thing from that fight was the fact that STC was up 3-0 in the Dragon stack, and it was a Mountain Soul. And when both these team comps struggle to do damage, Mountain Soul is a very scary thing to deal with.
Yeah.
Although they were not able to finish that Mountain Soul as the game went on, eventually it ended 3-3 in the Dragon score. We can see that in the upcoming replays, which should be ready here in a second. That's where we start seeing the Con front line start to get really unkillable. So this was like the big turnaround here for Con. Like, this is going to be a long team fight. If I recall, this is the 24 minutes into the game. This is the 4th Dragon. And everything's just taking so long here, but you can see at this point already, Revenant just already so unkillable, and this Senna, since you do have the Kraken Slayer, already have the LDR completed, you're able to put out okay-ish damage here. And even with that huge 3-gamer shockwave there, it's just not enough here. Because what's the follow-up, realistically speaking? The Orianna does not have the best sustained DPS. You're trying to contest this dragon because you do really want the soul here. It's just so hard for you to get in if you're 2004 Alexis. Like, what do? Walk through this Cho'Gath who's going to hit you with the silence, hit you with knockup, and then you just can't go back in. And this replay is going to go on for a while here because here's the teleport coming out. You got some low health bars here on these members. and there's going to be the Stormbringer over the wall, I believe. No, it's just going to be the charge on in here, coming out the teleport here from Shaden. But your lack of damage is really showing through here. And yes, you're finally able to get Puffles off the back end, but you have to commit so much here, and it's just not worth it in the end. And it would be an uphill battle for both these compositions if they fall behind, but especially the death cards. So you can see with the double AP as their main source of damage, and then a Shinzao.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it feels like that's a fight that really could have been different with some different itemization there, Gofarino. Like, if you have that earlier Leandries on the Seraphine instead of the Rylai's, I counted like 9 or 10 distinct abilities landed onto that Cho'Gath. If each one of those is proc and Leandries burn, you're able to work your way through that, I think, a lot more effectively. Maybe you get that extra Crypt Bloom proc plus the extra Magic Pen out of the Orianna earlier on. That's going to help you finish off some of those frontliners, bump up the rest of your team, and maybe you're able to secure that Dragon Soul and keep the snowball rolling. But does not end up
Yeah.
working out that way because, of tight fights like that one. And then eventually we get to this state in the later game where things are just completely out of control.
Yeah, I forget which one we went with here. This is the 33-minute fight here. And this is after the death cards were able to sneak Baron here, and they're getting a decent push in, but you can just see the collapse coming in from Khan Esports. Just look at Revenant's health bar here. Like, you're not doing damage. This is the Leandries now here. That is on Zeranos, but it's just not enough at this point in the game. And it's very long drawn out. I mean, there's only one kill so far, but this is what eventually leads into kind of the end of the game. There's like one more fight after this. Here's Jim Cantor. This is where you hit Jimothy Cantoro with the question mark thing 3 times, because that's how many you can do it. Because I don't know what the thought process was there, but thankfully for Con Esports, Jim Cantor able to get back in time to contest that next dragon, and then that's the game-winning team fight for Con Esports.
Yeah, absolutely. They get one more fight after that, but it's pretty much unsalvageable at that point. Losing Shredman super early in that fight also really hurts them, not having access to that Orianna. I mean, even if your damage dealers aren't doing the most, you definitely want to keep them alive to give them a little bit more opportunity to pump out some form of sustained damage, and losing one early on really just seals the deal for how that fight ends up playing out.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. It sounds like we're about to hop into Champions League for the next game here. I know we have the draft whole link, and
Yep.
okay, we
We're
did
here.
start up here, so we already have the first ban coming out from Con Esports. It is going to be that Udyr. Given that this is Fearless, I wouldn't be surprised if we see basically most of the same bans here, because you don't have to target ban someone from the last game or whatever champion was annoying.
You do not, and that means these guys are going to have to dig a little bit deeper into their pools. I think we probably get some real marksmen in this next game, because, one team doesn't have access to Senna, the other doesn't have access to Seraphine. I don't think a lot of folks are busting out stuff like the Ziggs yet. Maybe this is the patch that makes it happen, but would be a little bit of a surprise to me. I would expect to see some more of the picks that do still exist around, and I'm very surprised we didn't get to see any Varus last game. The Lucian was also a ban taken on by the death cards this time around. They have not yet taken it off the board. They're going to ban the Orianna instead. The Smolder left up as well here, subbed out for a Senna ban, and Khan going to snap that one up.
Yeah, I mean, Smolder is just, by all accounts, strong this patch. I know people on Reddit are campaigning for a hotfix, which, I mean, in all fairness, yeah. Smolder does kind of warrant a hotfix nerf here.
Just a whoopsie. Sometimes you nerf the champ and you make them better by accident, and that's
Yeah, that wasn't the intent of the okay, there's supposed to be nerfs in general, but just make the late game scaling more satisfying or something. I forget, but yeah, letting that through, we're gonna see the Varus locked in response here. We'll see if that's enough pressure. I'm assuming it's gonna be the lethality Varus, because you do want to put the Smolder down early. And it's going to be locked in with the Ahri as well. I know that has been rising in priority on this patch after the last round of buffs, just giving her a lot more leeway with that extra bit of health and a little bit of extra damage. Deceptively quite good. Quite good.
Definitely. And the real kind of net changes here on the Smolder.
Oh.
Ooh. Looking at the Karma.
Oh,
Karma going to be locked
that's
in.
nasty.
Still very strong in the mid lane where you're able to get it. And I'm just seeing the wiki here does not have the patch notes quite yet updated, but if you check out what the Smolder's capable of now, you'll see that they've really buffed up the sweet spot damage on the ultimate as well. So they kind of like the damage base all around it is a little bit lower, but the damage of the sweet spot is higher. So if you're getting any kind of CC to chain in there, the Smolder's even stronger ult-wise. And then, yeah, the big change, of course, is the change to the Q. You're a little bit weaker now, right when you hit that 225 mark, but as the
Yeah.
game goes later and you start to get past 300, 400 stacks, and you start to get to 3, 4 items, you're stronger than you were previously.
Yeah.
And that's just nuts. That's just a mistake. And
Not even
we're going to get to see if Connor going to be able to get to that point in this game number 2.
Yeah, not even at the 3-item point. I feel like 2.5 items, like you're still really strong then, and you just scale up so nastily. Renata, definitely interesting here. It works well into the Nautilus. The handshake can deny some of the Nautilus engage, and the hostile takeover performs well into the Nautilus. But looking at the rest of Con here, I mean, you have Smolder, Karma, 2 champions that really do not want to get up in your grill here. Because Renata, definitely a very hard anti-engage champion. Like, if you just have an Unga Bunga 5-man dive the backline composition against that hostile takeover, it does not ever work out well. So we'll see how that works out here. Because you definitely want to bully the Smolder in lane.
All right, as now getting into some of these top lane focused bans, the Mordekaiser and the Gragas going to bite it here once again. And still this kind of focus heading on up towards the top lane. It's really interesting. We're going to have to see what they are going to go for Revnon. Again, it feels like that's where this game has run through throughout most of the regular season, and actually coming up huge on the Cho'Gath in game number 1, right? Like, it's not the same kind of playstyle that we've seen out of Revnon for most of the season, but it still ends up probably being the most critical piece of their win, I would argue, is how strong that Cho'Gath was, how unkillable it got. Not going to be an option this time, but it's so out of left field that it feels like you're not even really that limited coming into game number 2.
Yeah, we'll have to see, because with Gragas, Udyr, Darius, Mordekaiser, and Urgot banned, that is quite a decent bit thrown out the top lane here. And the death cards do still have counterpick in that top side, which I believe they're going to be saving here. They're going to lock in their jungler. But yeah, definitely not the worst losing that Cho'Gath from your pool here if you are Revenon. Viego would be interesting. Would give you some scaling here, because if it's the lethality of Varus and just Ahri mid in general tends to fall off a bit as the game goes on, it does give you that contingency plan to really help you snowball fights, because you have to pick potential between Varus and Ahri to help set you up for those resets as this Viego. I want to see how that works out here for 2004 Alexis, because the Viego can be a little hit or miss here in this current season, because you don't have the same Divine Sundered build where it's just like, oh yeah, I have a decent amount of tank and a decent amount of damage that lets me access these resets pretty easily. Amumu going to be the response here. Very interesting, to say the least.
Really does give you that lockdown, really does give you that additional power. I think Umumu ult is a stun now, right? It's not an entangle anymore.
I don't know. If they changed that, it'd
Okay.
be back when they gave Amumu the double Q, which was...
I think they did. I'll double
Interesting
check it
change.
in between games. I'll feed that info over to the casters. I no longer have my fun fact. Amumu for the longest time had a unique CC on Ultimate called Entangle, which is a blind plus snare. So you can cast spells, but you can't auto attack, and you are immobile. I think it's just a stun now. I think you can't do anything. But we will. I'll check that out. The set going to be the final lock-in coming into the top lane. So Revnon coming up with another unique pick. The set not been the most popular in the top lane for a while now, but coming back out and going to be picked blind here, as they have a ridiculous amount of like full send engage. It's all about protecting this Smolder, and they have got themselves some fantastic tools to do it. The Ornn going to be the response coming on through from Shaden, as they want to scale on up. They want to have that CC, and they want to set up for some really powerful Viego resets.
Yeah, very interesting. As last game we were talking about, neither of the comps really had a lot of damage. This time around, much different, to say the least, with Smolder, Set, maybe Varus, depending on if it's lethality or not, in Viego. So, hey, we won't have like 40-second to 2-minute long team fights this time around.
Probably not. No, we're probably gonna have people dying a little bit faster. I do really like Viego Renata as a duo coming on through for the death cards. By the way, the ability to just kind of keep that reset potential alive for a little bit longer really makes you get a huge payout when you do finally find one of those kills. The only thing is, not a ton of squishy targets to get those kills onto. It's really gonna be all about a doofoof and stopping them from being able to pop on off on that smolder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Like you said, not a ton of reset opportunities here as this Viego for your 2004 Lexus, unless you get like really far ahead. Um, because looking at the rest of the death cards composition here, you don't really have an
So, I think we're
instant means to get on top of the back line.
Go for Reno cutting in and out a little bit there. I think we've got you now, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, was I muted?
You were cutting in and out. I think we've got you now.
Really?
But
Interesting.
either way,
Yeah, it might be
as
my
the
mic
producer has
cable.
asked us, I realize we never went to predictions. We are one game in already, but we
Well,
could
no.
take the opportunity here to show off what the desk thought of today's matchup, and it is a Con Esports sweep, at
Yeah.
least according to those of us here behind the camera. Some 2-1s, some 2-0s, all in play after Con Esports winning game number 1.
Yeah. And to the Death Card's credit, I mean, they kind of had the lead there for the most part in that first game until around that fourth dragon fight, which was around 24 minutes into the game. But it kind of was just a ticking time clock there. So we'll see if they're able to get early leads this game as well, because especially 2004 Lexus as the Shinzao in the jungle definitely did a lot of work early, just kind of hard gapped their opponent when it came to all those early objectives, securing 6 scrubs, the first 3 dragons, and Herald. Pretty good. We'll see if they continue that this time around as the Viego.
Yeah, we will have to see. I went and looked. By the way, that Amumu ultimate change was in season 10, so that was 4 years ago now. It's probably most people just assume it's a stun at this point. It's been a long time. It was made far before they gave him 2 bandage tosses, but either way, he's rocking them both now, and we'll have to see how well he's going to be able to lock down this Viego. I do think a big concern here is that Puffles is going to probably end up a little bit beefier than most of your mid lane mages. Going to be a little bit tougher to take down. Sek going to be in that same category. So is a Mumu. So it's going to be really hard to actually find yourself a target that you can burst out and that you can take out of the fight. If you're fighting Smolder, I mean, great. You've already won the fight if you find Smolder.
Yeah.
But you're not going to find Smolder most of the time. And a lot of the other targets, they're just not looking that juicy as resets for the Viego.
Yeah, and if you look at the rest of the con composition here, I mean, Karma, Set, Nautilus, these are all champions that tend to spike pretty early or do very well on like 1 to 2-ish items. That's a good insurance plan here for this Smolder, because Autofoof gonna have to be their kind of sole damage dealer in the late game. Even Malignant's Karma with full AP tends to fall off in the late game unless you're far ahead. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely does eventually fall off, but that's where you get to lean on your Smolder, right? And now you're just in full support category mode. You're just going to be looking to buff him up with as many shields as you can to make sure that he's going to be super safe. Shredman back on the Akali, though, or the Ahri, going to be that big backline threat that you really need to particularly watch out for. I think the rest not going to have the best time of access. It's really going to be on Shredman to find those flanks, find those dash throughs, find the one spot where you can kind of slip through the enemy's defenses and get onto a doofus.
And it's definitely going to be hard to do that here as Shredman, because you are against a lot of CC. Like, if you go in and take 1 straight Nautilus hook or 1 straight bandage toss or 1 straight facebreaker, that just basically means you probably die here as the Ahri. So it's going to be walking a fine line here, and it doesn't help that Ahri tends to fall off as the game goes on. Not exactly the highest damage assassin, more of a kitey burst mage, to say the least. So they're going to have their work cut out for them, to say the least.
They will indeed. So we're going to be loading onto this one here pretty soon. Going to be some pretty expected runes coming out across the board. The Grasp of the Undying for the Ornn, the Conqueror for the Set. These are both what we traditionally expect. Not quite as much Unsealed Spellbook Ornn in the current era, especially not when you're up against these melee lanes. Just going to be looking to kind of chill and do their best. I do notice a demolish here. That's optimistic against the set that you're going to be getting a lot of time to wail on the tower.
Yeah, I mean, if you're able to get that one extra plate because of it, it's nice to have it. It's personal preference. The other options on that row, not the best. I mean, having the forget what the name of it is, the one where you CC and teammates auto attacking heal. That's kind of nice for team fights later on, but not the biggest deal. Conk on the Amumu though, that is a little interesting. I know Aftershock is the most traditional one. The Conqueror, to me, kind of communicates is going to be the more bruisery kind of Amumu, where you potentially rush the oh, what's the name? The thing they replaced Riftmaker with.
It's still called Riftmaker.
Oh right, we're still learning item names. But yeah, I'm assuming it's probably going to be that sort of Amumu. And
Could be
yeah,
that. You can also go, like, I think the standard build these days is, like, you go Sunfire Cape first and then get Leandries after.
mhm.
And then, you can go kind of that similar kind of Jock Show, Abyssal Masky, kind of like AoE damage stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that. Like, you just squeeze a Leandries into the build somewhere, and now you're kind of a damage threat as well. I would anticipate that might be what this Conqueror is kind of showing us a bit of.
Yeah. And it's going to be the unhit verse, interestingly, here in the bot lane. That is going to give you some scaling to match the Smolder, but of course you won't have that early pressure that Lethality one gives you. And obviously the Smolder is still going to outscale you no matter what. Does give you an extra source of nice DPS in these team fights here. If you are the death cards, though, you're not just relying on 2004 Alexis's Viego for that, but give the Smolder more of a free lane. Always a little concerning.
Definitely is here. And there's that Aftershock we were missing on the Amumu. It is on the Nautilus. Going to be the Guardian, of course, for the Renata. As per usual, note that Hex Flash on the Nautilus as well. Going to be looking to unlock Pierce Blade a little bit to get him moving around the map and get him finding fight opportunities for the rest of the squad. That's going to be the timer ticking on down for our spectate delay. Should be getting into the game here in just a few short moments. All in all, when all is said and done, I like what Con Esports have put together here, assuming that a Dufoof can stay safe, similarly to how they were on the Senna coming into the later game, and can be that force on the Smolder that they're going to need.
Sounds like we are ready, though, so we'll be heading on to the Rift to watch these gamers game it on out. So if Bonfire and Slayer could take us away here after the transition. There we go, baby.
Transition.
It was perfect.
Isn't that your joke?
I used to do it a lot, yeah. The old Anthony Fantano line, the transition.
Yeah, but I hate that guy.
I know. You did not want me to do it anymore, so I stopped.
That guy. He's wrong about music. Surely it's not a completely subjective?
Yeah,
Yeah,
subjective.
subjective. Okay, yeah.
Subjective
guys,
is
well-
like your own opinion. Objective would be the correct opinion.
Well, not correct.
Or like the...
Well, like factual
Yeah, the factual,
backing.
yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to a Slayfire cast where we tangent before anything even happens. Well, we certainly have a lot more damage in this game. Certainly have a lot more ability to create earlier in this game. Especially even on the team with a Smolder, right? Because I think Gorda pointed out well. Karma is very good. She's good early. She becomes very stupid at one item with Malignance, and she'll end up falling off later. So kind of a good way to carry the Smolder over. However, I do know from watching and personally playing Karma mid like a D-Gen in solo queue these last couple of days that Ahri is actually not a fun matchup. Because she can basically nullify a lot of what Karma wants to do, because Ahri can hit you through the minions, so she can just sit in the minion wave. She could punish you for going outside of your own minions with a charm, and then drop more damage on you. So unless I'm just bad, I think this is a hard matchup for Puffles.
Well, you are just bad, but it might also still be a hard matchup for Puffles. I think what you've said makes sense. I don't disagree with that. So we'll have to see if they also have the same issues that you have in solo queue. Because I'm curious about that as well. Because I was about to say I do feel like Karma is just really, really overtuned right now with the damage. We'll have to see if they are going to have an issue. I will say I think the one strength that I think Karma has, at least for a little bit, is should have better wave clear. But I do think, later Ahri should really win in that regard as well. I do like this Karma getting, Puffles getting early push off and being able to recognize where the Viego is, because Now this Smolder alongside this Nautilus recognize, hey, we should play a little bit back. Make sure that we don't get ganked by this Viego and set our Smolder behind, considering this is one of our biggest win conditions.
On the other side for the death cards, this does look to be an on-hit Varus, so the scaling option of the Varus. So it does, in my mind, signal, unless some really good combos come down from this Renata and Varus, that it will be kind of a slower lane once more in the bot side. But top side is where I expect a lot of action. You've got Revnon, who picks the set into an Ornn. You are looking to be a pain early when you are playing this lane as Revnon.
This is interesting from Revnon as well. Keep an eye on the mini-map. Actually, we could go take an eye on that. Revnon's roamed all the way down at this point. Got the wave shoved in. Might look for something on Shredman. Shredman does still have flash, and with the way that they're positioning, it's not going to be easy, but gets up for the wave. Here you go.
Shredman's going to have to flash. Can Revnon pull him back? No.
Close.
Barely outside the pixel range there, but still. Key summoner to get off this Ahri early with no Spirit Rush will be a sitting duck without flash.
Yeah, I really liked that play right there from Revnon. And I think that it was great from Jim Cantore as well, recognizing, what your top laner wants to do. It is going to mean that the bot lane's going to be able to roam up because, again, pushing waves and all that good stuff. And so Puffles can't get caught out, but does see the Viego miss and I think recognizes the potential danger. It is warded, so they do know that this Amumu's on it, but just not a lot that you can do an early Ornn versus an early set. I'll take the set every day of the week and also Sundays. And so Jim Cantore will be able to take the scuttle and make sure that it's even in scuttle stack.
Jim Cantore will fall behind a bit in, I believe, a camp behind, as his Krugs have been left up, did not go for the full clear, so Lexus will have a slight advantage there, and then might be able to set him up to take these grubs first. Viego's certainly one of those champions that would subscribe to the ideology of, I just want to steal one grub at a time, can't really burn them all together, so, like an Amumu can. So I would assume this is just a good trade to get, right? He's going to slam these Krugs, and then I would assume take the first Void Grub and dip out of there.
Yeah, if you can get one each time, then you're denying the grub stacking, which is the most important thing, right? If you get 4 grubs, it's fine, but it really isn't substantial enough of a buff that you want to sell out your early game for it. So if you can just take one this time and then just take one the next time, you're happy about that. But it doesn't look like he's roaming over. In fact, he's spotted on vision, so this Viego has to be careful, because keep an eye on, look at where the Amumu is. The set has push off. Lexus might be in some danger. He goes for a fight against Jim Cantore.
Okay, bandage toss will land. Jim Cantore likes his odds up against this Viego early, mainly because Revnon's right around the corner. Second bandage toss will land as well. He does not even get the stunning. Will have to flash out. So another great mid lane play from this top side for Con Esports. Gets another key summoner down.
Yeah, the top side of this con is playing so perfectly. Shredman doesn't have flash, by the way. Shredman's dead.
Pierce Blade gonna land the first root, has the dredge line, just root city right now between Puffles and Pierce Blade, and they should, with one more auto, grab first blood for the Karma mid. Con Esports on the board.
This is impressive from Con, by the way. The way that they're synergizing across the map, moving their support up to get the kill on a flashless Ahri from a previous play where the top laner and the jungler roamed mid to get the flash off, and then they knew that Lexus wasn't going to be there to bail out the Ahri because they just forced Lexus to back because of another play where the mid, the jungle, and the top all grouped together to get the flash and the damage onto the jungler. So I mean, that's just perfect, right? That's exactly what you need to do, and they're just moving their chess pieces better right now. It really feels like SDC is a little dizzy with how this early game is going, just not moving nearly as well across the map. They are going to get this first dragon, but you lose first blood, you're losing some CS, and it feels like Revnon has just had such a great global impact so far early on.
Yeah, the one benefit for SCC with Pierce Blade camp and mid on that brush was that they got bot push in, so I at least like to see that exchange come across. They're now looking to try and handshake onto a Dufuf, but it lands to a dredge line back onto Heroics, who gets another route onto Zeranos. Both junglers are showing up here, and once again, Jim Cantore is going to bandage toss onto Lexus without him knowing. Stun traded back, both supports decently low. We have Shredman roamed over here with Spirit Rush if he wants it. Puffles in the area as well. Doesn't seem like either one of these teams want to give up just yet.
Yeah, Puffles knows that Shredman's there, and so isn't going to offer himself up for death, but is going to hang around to help out if need be. Shredman's committing to this. Do they really want to go for a fight? That's a lot of damage early on, and yeah, they're just going to grab the plate and back up. But they wasted a lot of time. They brought a lot of members down. They don't get anything for it.
Lexus at level 6 there, so maybe with Heartbreaker up, had that advantage over Jim Cantori, wanted to go for something. But yeah, everyone ends up stepping away. Adufoof ends up with a sizable CS lead. Topside has a slight CS lead as well.
Whoa.
And hold on, flash forward.
Oh,
Heroics does get the handshake. Fierce Blade immediately matches the flash. The piercing arrow, one more auto. Zeranos does pick up that kill. Has the bailout, synergizing as well. One more auto should do it. Good flash. The turret aggro. Outplay Adufoof.
Adufoof styling on him right there. Varus could not see what the Smolder Dragon was cooking. Beautifully played right there. It ends up being a 1-for-1. But could have been much, much worse for Con Esports. Adufoof saves Adufoof?
Yeah, Adufoof. The PH makes an F, so it's Foof.
Adufoof, you're right. Yeah. Adufoof. Really smart played right there. And again, like you said, the CS advantage. It happened last game as well on the Seraphine versus the Senna on a roam up to get the grubs. This game, it's just been honestly domination in terms of the CSing. A 20 CS advantage for this Smolder. So we talked about not making sure that you're not falling behind. The Smolder actually getting ahead early.
Yeah, which is a rarity.
Whoa.
Top side, we have ults getting exchanged. Jim Cantori once again showing up everywhere on the map here. Early showstopper from Revnon.
Oh.
Great dodge on the dredge line, or excuse me, the bandage shots. There's the dredge line, which he goes unstoppable for. Has to break out the Call of Forge God. Ignite over top. He's just cornered. There's too many people here for Con Esports. Lexus and Heroics will show up, but just a little bit too late to the play.
Yeah, there's nothing that they can do. Shredman actually burns ultimate to get there quicker. But now Puffles is in danger. Puffles.
Okay. Good flash, though, to dodge the Lexus stun.
Uh-oh.
Handshake should be available. They're rooting down to Heroics. They want to burn down this Renata.
Oh,
Good double
Revnon.
pullback from Revnon. The bailout only going to delay the inevitable. Heroics will fall. Now they've got Lexus caught. Serrano shows up with a big change of corruption. He's starting to free fire on the back line. Revnon does not have W up until the last second, and he won't be able to find the trade. Lexus doubles up, and STC finally roaming to the right side of the map first, and they're going to take 4 kills with it.
Yeah, it took a while for them to get back into this game, and like you said, to roam first, but that's exactly what they did. They had the numbers, and it was a close fight, but they just brought more friends to the party, and they jumped them, brought him outside, and kicked the poop out of Khan right there. Made sure that they do not fall too far out of this game. Now, the trade is going to be a Adufoof, continuing to scale up in the bot side, but you take that every day of the week if you're SDC.
Especially now that you get Zeranos in such a great spot. Lexus and Zeranos grabbed 2 kills apiece. So it's not even like you have the old adage of, oh, the kills didn't go where they wanted to. Shredman does not have Spirit Rush up. Great recognition from Jim Cantone again, and it gets the flash off Shredman.
Yeah, Jim Cantore having another great game. I said in the previous game, I think he was my MVP for the CC and layering the damage or layering the CC across. This game he's just continued that. It feels like, especially on Amumu, you have such a great opportunity to do that. This game he's been everywhere. He's been getting flashes, he's been getting kills. It's been a great game so far for this Amumu. But in that previous fight, man, if they killed Lexus just half a second earlier, I really do feel like Khan wins that, but the Viego is able to get the resets, and suddenly out of nowhere, Jim Cantore, for as great of a series as he has had, as great of a game as he's had, is now behind his jungle counterpart, and it's going to be difficult to contest these objectives. Right there, though, did find a good angle, a good opportunity, knew that the Viego was bot, and was able to steal away those Void Grips.
6 Void Grubs on the table here for Khan. We'll see how much they can push it. Revnon's certainly going to want to be one of those members, but Ornn, pretty sneaky with that wave clear. Has a lot of ways to just clear the lane out, especially with that Cinder Hulk. That just passively helps clear the waves. We'll see if they could use those grubs. I mean, 6 grubs has got a pretty high win rate among teams in competitive play right now.
Yeah, you get those grubs, just like the things start to come across. But last game, STC got all 6 grubs, so
True.
You never know. It's one of those, I think, I don't remember who told me this, but it reigns true, which is it helps you snowball. When you're winning, it helps you win quicker. When you're losing, it does nothing. Or next to nothing. So we'll have to see if they can get the wave shoved in. I do like getting it early, though. I think last game I was mentioning, it didn't feel like it was that important. It was a team fighting game. There was a bunch of tanks and team fighting compositions. Getting those grubs didn't really mean a lot. This game, you've got a set. You're going to be side laning a lot more than you would be last game. So I think getting 6 grubs, especially on the set, is going to prove to be very important.
All right, not a lot of vision for Adufoof and company. They're still going to go in because they know Jim Cantore is here. Mob comes out, ton of damage on the sweet spot there. Heroics Gonna limp away with the Ignite. Teleport from Puffles as well, maybe a little bit overzealous. Now everyone's towards the bot side now as the waves crash into the turret.
Yeah, I would like Shredman to go mid and shove a wave mid, especially because you just saw the teleport be used from the Karma, but I think too concerned about a potential dive and wants to make sure that his bot lane doesn't give over a shutdown. But at the end of the day, that teleport from the Karma isn't really going to be punished, which is maybe a missed opportunity from STC. We'll have to see. As 3 minions, I believe this Karma is going to miss. Not really the end of the world. Still up about 10 minions on his counterpart. Actually, only he's going to miss 1. Wow, not so bad. No, did end up missing all 3.
Did end up missing every one of those guys. Does give TP advantage over to Shredman.
Yeah.
Which, for right now, kind of evens it out because Revnon has TP advantage, but Shaden should be up in, I want to say that's like 30 seconds, maybe like a minute left on that one, which will coincide well with a Drake or a Rift Herald play coming across here. Malignance is going to be done for both these mid laners as well, which will favor the Karma, and I'm sure everyone who's been playing Season 14 League of Legends knows why.
Yeah, this is the one item, Mark. This is when the Karma's the strongest, or at least up there with the strongest, so we'll see if they want to fight alongside him right now. I was looking at the Smolder stacks. I believe it's 85 right now, so 1 or 2 more waves, and we should see the Smolder start that, because it's 100, right? Or am
125, I believe.
125. I don't play any Smolder. I don't really like Smolder. What is that? Yeah, so we'll have to see. Obviously, still scaling up, but soon the Smolder's going to start to really shred people.
So once again, another game out of Adufuf where he's playing a scaling AD carry, and he's exceeded early game expectations. He's up at CS. He just dropped his bounty, but he had a bounty because of just the farm and the 1 kill he was able to pick up. That's all you can really ask for, especially like Gordo talked about with how arguably overclocked the scaling factor on Smolder is on 14.5.
Yeah, Smolder is... Just watch a Smolder game and nothing happens for the first 25 minutes, and then Smolder one-shots everybody, and it's what happened? It's just... I think they need to retune it personally. My personal opinion is I don't think Smolder's good for the game right now, but we can get into that later.
Well, let's not get into League of Legends politics here.
I'm of the opinion that... hold on a second. Alexa should be able to get out. I'm of the opinion that scaling carry should have to do something to scale up, or it should be a gradual scaling. It feels like Smolder is really hard scaling points, but that's just my opinion.
That's fair, but I would also... Not that I don't agree with most of your Smolder takes. I will pose the counter of, you know what Smolder is capable of. Why not find ways to keep that scaling factor away for longer in the early game? That's at least what I would say advocation is for at least competitive play. But I do agree that he is still way overtuned, regardless, for that style of play. Because I do think scaling AD carries should always have a place.
Oh, 100%. It just feels like until you hit 225, it's like you're weak, and then you get the execute, and suddenly you're like incredibly strong. But like I said, I don't play Smolder. I don't know if I'm the Smolder expert, so I will leave that to the pros and to the designers and everybody who knows a lot more than I do.
Well, what we know about this game is that it's slowed down and it's pretty even, which I still think, despite the fact there's a Smolder in game, I think the scaling kind of evens out on these teams, because Karma, if we do get late enough, will kind of fall off in damage compared to an Ahri. Lexus, who is ahead, will be very threatening on Viego, and going on hit Varus will make you a problem in the later stages as well. So I don't really see a game where we go 40 minutes and it's clear that one team's just going to win. I think even if in a long game, both teams will have players who can win them fights and win them the game.
Yeah, Puffle's damage will definitely fall off, but the reason that Karma's so strong is because the shielding will not, and I think, alongside the Smolder, it will be very helpful to have that Karma. So while the damage will fall off, I think the Karma will still always be helpful to have.
Okay, teleport both top laners. Jim Cantori jumps into the pit. Revnon's coming from the side here.
Ooh.
Jim Cantori wants Serrano's great curse of the Sad Mummy. They've got the backline pinned. Another great stun on the bandage shots. Serrano's didn't even get to play the game thanks to Revnon and Jim Cantori. But Lexus will find a reset. That's what the Viego was, but he's getting burned down by Revnon. A double kill over to Adofoof, who's been quietly free hitting in the background. And Jim Cantori leaves his mark on another great fight for Con Esports.
Jim Cantori, the opener, baby. He's not going to be there to see it end, but he'll be damned if he's not going to get the party started. He's the one who comes in with a full bottle of tequila, and he's also the one who's maybe passed out on the couch once the party's over. It doesn't matter, right? He started the party. That's exactly all he needed to do. Alongside Revnon, was able to get Serrano, so they knocked down the AD carry. And just like last game, all it takes is one for Con to get going. That's exactly what they did. They got a double kill to Smolder. Now has 138 stacks. Now is 3-0-1. Should be able to back and get another item. And they stopped the dragon stacking. So Con Esports fans, very, very happy about the outcome of that one.
They also grab the 2 shutdowns on death cards. They kill off Lexus and they kill off Serrano. So
And they got Bot Tower.
yeah, it was just a resounding good fight win here. I like this call from Lexus though on resets. Knows the Rift Herald will be kind of available. Jim Cantori does not have Curse the Sad Mummy. The Showstopper is available, and look at this, the respect given over. Lexus doesn't want to lose more of this game over the Rift Herald. Maybe he was waiting for the Hallowed Mist. Trying to play around that vision, but it's just going to be spied and stolen away. Shredman now going to get caught by Revnon. Has to use the Spirit Rush to just create some separation. And it's Con Esports that actually come on top with the neutral.
Yeah, it really feels like Con Esports just commands so much respect right now. And I gotta say, SDC, if they don't change things, they could be out of the series soon because they don't look like they're playing their game anymore. They look like they're playing Con's game.
Oh, no.
No, they'll be fine.
Oh, Drift!
Oh, wow, that was holy Drift. They're gonna get another charge off.
Is that the Drift King?
Oh my god, look at all those. Are they gonna get another charge? No, they don't want to. Oh! Oh, almost. My previous
Live bonfire
point,
reaction.
live bonfire reaction. My previous point before I almost lost my mind over that that charge was it feels like SDC is playing into the hands of Con, right? It feels like every fight they're just waiting for Con to make a move and then they'll react, or you know they're going to an objective and then Con shows up and then they're not sure what they want to do. And you just can't play League that way. It's not their fault. Con's really dictated the pace, and it feels like they've been the ones saying, hey, this is how things are going to go. But you cannot play into Con's hands like that. And because of that, they're down about 3,500 gold. And even when they do decide to make a play and start a fight, it feels like they lose it. So I think SDC may be lacking a bit of confidence right now. The mental game of League of Legends, you know, on paper, they're still in this game. It's not over yet. But let me know if you disagree. It just feels like mentally they're not really in it right now.
I just think what makes Con such a threat at this level of competitive play is their ability to make macro decisions as a squad and play together and fight so well.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of that has been Jim Cantori, and I do think when a team is on like that, it is hard to shut down, like you're talking about. I do think, though, there are some impactful ultimates, and hey, finding pick plays will always help, especially if the Charm's going to land. Puffles nearly having to flash away the Heartbreaker. The shield isn't enough. No, the reset will come across, and that's exactly what the death cards have to do to get back into this one.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was asking from them as well, right? Just start the play. Find what you want to do on the map. They find out that Puffles is a little overpushed. They even get the flash off of it as well. That's a massive pick right there. You're gonna get this this Viego a little bit more fed, and realistically, Baron's up if they want to try to contest for it. But I think they're gonna be smart about it, not go for it. The question is, what else can they get from that? Because it's got to be more than just a kill. It doesn't look like they're gonna be able to snowball it into any really other objectives.
No
Well,
gold
maybe they
found,
are.
and now they'll look to make a play here. Call the Forge God. They're trying to get a Doofoof. They might have to settle for Revnon, who does have that big, powerful W. Good dodge out from Zeranos, who would have just gotten chunked by it. And it's another great pick there, helmed by Lexus.
They're starting to get some plays together. They're starting to get some objectives, some kills potentially. I mean, this is good. This is what I wanted out of SDC. A Doofoof can't get picked.
Flaps those wings to safety.
Gets the Crocs as well. But they lose the bot tower along with 2 kills. So the last minute, 2 minutes for STC has been much, much better. It feels like they are deciding where to go, how they want to play this. Meanwhile, Khan's kind of been on the back foot. So we'll see what this next dragon does as... Ooh, Shredman, hold on a second.
Puffle's looking for his revenge. Spirit Rush is up for Shredman. Good bandage shots from Jim Cantore. Only has 2 of those in tote, though, so... That pesky Ari will dash herself right out to safety.
Yeah, but that's Spirit Visage down for this dragon. And as you can see, if Jim Cantore is up, you really need that extra mobility. So with Spirit Visage down, I feel like they have to play a bit safer. Although I'm looking, look at the ultimate cooldown. It's already, okay. Well,
Malignance, baby.
Yeah, that it is just flying back up. So Shredman actually probably will have Spirit Visage back, or Spirit Rush back up for this fight.
Dragon just hitting the rift. We have an Ocean Soul, which could be very powerful when considering the poke ability of both these comps. They're leaving Puffles to the top side to shove these waves in. Khan are going to probably play this one slow. They have that teleport up if they want it. But they're just going to make sure to have wave control, somebody in the river as much as possible. There's the teleport, though. Shredman coming forward. Spirit Rush back up, like you mentioned, has 2 more charges. Jim Cantore looking for a big ult, doesn't find too many good targets, but Shredman's already dead. Mom coming through. This hostile takeover will hit 4, but there's nobody to drop the damage to carry back through. Zeranos is caught. Another great call of the Forge God, but there's nobody to sing home. No closer on the mound here for STC, and Khan Esports have another fight win.
Yeah, that was tough for SDC because it felt like they were just kind of meandering around, figuring out how they wanted to play it. Shredman goes in, immediately gets popped by the Curse of the Sad Mummy, and then it was 1 by 1, right? They were standing in a line, just waiting to die, and Khan was gonna give them that luxury. It's all they ever wanted. So they knock him down. That's 4 who fell in really perfect order. Now they're going to lose the Dragon. They're going to lose the Baron. And they might not lose the Dragon. They'll lose the Baron. So here's the thing. Is STC just going to go rush over to this Dragon? I think they might. And that's sole point. So I don't know, Khan. I understand Baron's very important, but you just gave him sole point. You gave him an in back into this game.
Well, yeah, they should actually be able to get it. It is a Chemtech Soul, my mistake, so a little less valuable. But that is a win con that's still going to be up there. And Objective Bounty also sends a bit of extra gold into the hands of SDC. But all that may be for naught, depending on how well they can anti-siege this push coming in, because there are a lot of standing turrets up there to push the gold lead for Khan if they can do it right.
Yeah, it all comes down to how much can Khan get here. Because if Khan can knock down 3 towers, then it was very much worth it. But if they get less than that, I feel like I'd rather have the Dragon, and that is fun.
Great route into the dredge line. Immediate Heartbreaker out of Lexus. Pierce Blade does not want to use the depth charge, though, to chase further. They'll just get the ult off this Viego, push up that bot wave. They've got a Doofoof shoving in towards mid.
Oh my
Stranglehold.
Oh no.
Okay, all right. Lexus face checking a brush with no Heartbreaker. I honestly was just stunned that he was up that far. So that's a freebie. Give him right back over. And that should really help out the siege here, especially with those Void Mites.
Yeah, and they get Baroned up as well. They're losing an inhibitor turret right now while they're fighting in the bot side. Shaden has to do this by himself, just an Ornn. And there's Execute, baby. There's Execute. So this, keep an eye on the Smolder now, because it is now the Smolder show. We are no longer playing League of Legends. We are playing Smolder. We will see what the Smolder can do damage-wise.
Well, this siege has certainly gone well in those Void Grubs that we haven't seen a lot of. Certainly doing their snowballing effect now. They get the mid inhibitor. Lexus soon to respawn in about 3 seconds, but when he gets back to the Rift, he's going to find his base in tatters. And the Death Guards are willing to give that over until now. Here comes Call of Forge God. How many good targets can they get? Not much. Hostile takeover. Also really going to only hit Puffles. And Jim Cantore finds a massive Curse of the Sad Mummy. And Khan Esports might just call game now. They bide their time on the siege and show why they are a staple team in the Mythic League, putting the rest of the squad in postseason play on notice. Khan Esports are coming for you and the title. And they've got themselves a semifinals bid with a clean 2-0.
Yeah, looking like Genghis Khan Esports right now, the way they are just sieging on the rest of their opposition. Zeranos might be a Gatling gun, but he turns it back on himself and takes the easy way out as Khan just decimates SDC in this second game. They didn't let that one go as long as the first game. Slayer took care of business. They got the rest of the night to enjoy, celebrate as they move on in these playoffs and send SDC to the lower bracket.
Now they have themselves slotted for, I want to double check just to make sure, because double them could get a little bit weird here. They will be playing the winner of HCG OMG, which is Horizon Gaming Eclipse, the other 4-0 squad,
Ooh.
versus Omega Gaming Goobers, who we saw confidently get themselves a bid in these playoffs. That series might be a fun one, I'm assuming. But they are now one step closer to the finals, Con Esports. They'll also, if they win that next series, the winner of those series gets a bye, as we have to figure out more lower quarters stuff. Great spot to be in if you're Con Esports, and man, what a game for what a just series for not only just, you know, a Doofoof goes 8-0-3 on this Smolder, untouched the entire time, but it was just like you were talking about. It was an amazing supportive game from some of this Con Esports roster. Jim Cantore, man,
Yeah.
beautiful Amumu game.
Yeah, I feel like it was Khan just flexing their muscles there. It wasn't one member really stepping up beyond where they needed to. It was every single person, you know, playing their game, playing as a team. We were talking about how well they move around the map together. And yeah, I'm glad you highlighted. I don't know if we do MVPs for these, you know, these lower level first rounds, but
I mean, we could say them out loud, but there's no like
yeah, if we are going to do MVPs,
superficial bearing.
if we are going to do MVPs, Jim, I think a Doofoof is my like damage MVP. I think was like the best damage dealer in the game by far, in both games. But Jim Cantore, as an engaged support player, engaging isn't always easy. There's not always the best engage. You got to look for the right members. But Jim Cantore had some really, really strong engages in both games that helped push them across the finish line. So I thought that it was a great game, great series from Jim Cantore and from a Doofoof, and everybody at Con really picked up, you know, their own weight.
So thank you, GoFarino. We'll throw to those guys quickly. I just want to point out very fast as we're on the conversation of the standings. Horizon Gaming Eclipse did actually end up 2-0ing Omega Gaming Goobers, so as much fun as they got getting in here, they will go to lower bracket. That does set up a 4-0 regular season matchup next week here. Con Esports, Horizon Gaming Eclipse. That one would be a banger. A potential, I would assume, preview if you're going on regular season standings to the finals. So
Yeah.
that one should be fun, but you know what's more fun than that one, Bonfire?
What's that?
Hearing Gordo and GoFarino take us
Oh,
home
of
here.
course.
That's enough from us on the caster desk. A quick 2-0 means myself and Bonfire are out of here. Gordo, GoFarino, talk to us about how Con Esports flex their muscles in this final game too.
A clean win there for Con Esports, taking it 2-0 as they show up, I think, a little bit cleaner than they did in game number 1. Just a lot more of a straightforward game plan. A lot of focus towards that Smolder from both teams as we expected, and Adufuf is able to stay safe and be that carry that Con Esports drafted a comp for him to be. Coming on up there with the clean win, with the large killing sprees, and with just very little difficulty to actually be able to respond if you're coming in on the side of the death card.
Yeah, there was some difficulty early on for Adufuf as the Smolder in the bot lane. There was a bit of pressure, but they were able to get one lucky kill here and there, and eventually, one of the replays we'll eventually see when they get the double shutdown around that Drag 3 fight. That's when things start to get really scary. So, yeah, it was a nightmare for the death cards to deal with when they started falling behind, and kind of felt like Con Esports just across the map had their number this entire game. We saw very early on 3 members commonly just roaming into that mid lane, roaming into that topside jungle against the death cards and just making life a living hell.
Absolutely, just becoming more and more difficult. Death cards will, of course, get a second life. They've made it through the play-in stage, so they do get to participate in the double elim bracket. They will drop down to play against the loser of Horizon Gaming versus Omega Gaming Goobers, that match that Slayer mentioned earlier on. So that will be the lower matchup. Will also be the upper matchup between those two winners. That's what Con is going to be paying attention to. Looks like Horizon did end up winning on out there, so will be the Goobers versus the Death Cards in the lower bracket. One of them will be going home as a result of next week.
Yeah, definitely going to have to see how the rest of the bracket shakes up here, because there are still more match results are waiting to just come on in here later tonight, hopefully, unless there's some...
Yep, seeing what the top half of that bracket does end up looking like as we start to get up our replays from game number 2 here. But all around, right, I feel like they were really able to keep together the composition that they were looking for in this game number 1. We can check out this early fight bot lane, where again, it's all about a doofoof. They've got to start the focus on it early, and they're trying to set Zoronos and co ahead. Just doesn't end up working out that way.
And this is really extended here. Nobody dies in this play, I believe. Yeah, everybody just kind of shakes here. Everyone's just going to back off. This might have been the wrong replay. I think we meant to queue up the 8-minute one, and I think this one was about 7.5 minutes in. Either way, though, you can see SDC, they're definitely being proactive on the map here, trying to take the Smolder on down. And here's the follow-up play that comes from it. We're going to see a flash handshake come out here in just a second. That is so close, because you're able to take down this Nautilus here, and there's just no Pierce Blade available, but see Auto Foof able to get a fadeaway here. Just one more auto, and yeah, that's the difference between Zeranos picking up a double there and not picking up a double.
Yeah, no, real shame there to take that turret shot. Does end up costing him his life. Does end up giving that lead back over towards the Smolder, and just starts off what is going to be that inevitable snowball that eventually results in a game win for Cons. We'll check out next play. Going to be much later in the game, about 17 minutes in, where they're fighting around this third dragon. You can see it's Jim Cantore over the wall, just taking control of the Lizard to start things off and finding that deep engage onto Zoronos. Shaden buying space on the other side, but Jim Cantore finding that engage. Revnon able to follow up on it. It is just so tough to play here for that Varus. He is going to be going down pretty fast as a result. Lexus starts getting the resets, but is not going to be long for the world because the Doofoof is largely untouched and is starting to pick up those shutdowns.
Yep, and this is the huge turning point of the game where it definitely feels like Khan gets so much momentum under their wings to propel themselves up to a lead. Because before this, it was relatively even. You had that 3-1 Bears in the bot lane here for the Death Cards that was a very scary prospect, but like you mentioned in that team fight there, Gordo, very hard to just kind of operate when you're just kind of getting dove upon like that. And after that, I believe the Smolder for Autofoof was 3-0, might have been 2-0. I can't quite remember. Either way, though, scary things, and it was kind of the start of the end there.
Yep. And then the end of the end will be coming on up here pretty soon. As they crest over past 26 minutes, we'll send it on into that one right now. It break us down exactly how this play ends up ending the game. A Doofoof, though, fully online at this stage. You can see that burn damage already starting to tick away at Shaden.
Yeah, like, the game just ends really quickly here. You got the 6 grubs, so you take these things down very fast. You have all these members here on their power spikes. I believe Autofoof is on about 3 items at this point, or 2.5. And we just see this is a desperation engage coming out from the Death Cards. It looks good at first, you know, you get that 3-person knockup, but the hostile takeover only hitting on it to this Karma here really hurting them in that fight, because you're not locking down the Smolder that you have to focus, and outside of that you just don't have the juice to get onto this backline, and that's just going to be an easy take here to end the game. A little bit of a formality. Trying to get some last bit of DPS here, some last KDA padding.
Yep, getting the last bit of gameplay in there as the night is going to be ending here pretty soon for both of these teams. Death Cards, not with the result they would have been hoping for, going to have to restabilize or regroup and come in fighting for that lower bracket. But this game, Khan living up to the hype here. We talked about, you know, they didn't get to play too much of a regular season, only getting about 3 matches in due to the forfeit, plus the dominant showing, meaning that they had no need for a play-in best of 5, but showing that they didn't, or they deserved that berth, as they are able to come on up with a dominant win here over one of those play-in winners in the Death Cards.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, when you look at the goal graph here, it's not until like the last few minutes of the game where it actually explodes and they really
Yeah.
just took over. Very scary thing to deal with here. We'll see what their opponent in the next round is able to do to contest this.
Yeah. And it's not the only factor, but give me a timestamp guess for when you think Smolder hit 225 stacks. By the way, on this chart.
Yeah. I'd say sometime around the 22-minute mark.
Yeah, that's usually when it happens. So, just
Yeah.
composition doing what the composition do. It works out very nicely by Khan. And I do think, these 2 games in a row showing some nice drafting out of Khan here. I really like this composition that they were able to put together to keep that Smolder safe, folding in, maybe some less expected picks, but ones that work for players like Revnon in the form of this set, who's been drawing 3+ bans every game the whole series, by the way. And yeah, just being able to craft themselves a good mix of champs that are unique to them and comfortable for them, and champs that are omnipresent in the meta and able to craft themselves a solid team comp out of it.
Yeah, very solid showing. Like you said, I look forward to see how they perform in the upcoming weeks here. And oh, we got another result here. Looks
Go.
like Dog was able to 2-0 their opponent here. Forget
All
who they
right.
were against. So getting more of the playoff bracket confirmed here.
Looking like the regular season was probably as abridged as it was, a pretty good indicator of who some of the top teams in the league are, as those teams with the buys into the first round that didn't have to play in play-ins, they're coming on up with wins in that first round, and they're making their way over to the winners side semi-finals. While the rest of the teams, they're going to have to fight it out in the lower bracket and see if they can make it in through the bottom. But that's pretty much going to do it for today's stream here, Go for Eno. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us for the Risen Mythical League. We will be back next week with the next round of playoffs. We'll either be covering an elimination round in lower quarters, or actually, is that lower quarters?
I don't know.
It's lower. We'll call it lower bracket round 1. I actually think lower quarters is the round after, and then it's lower semis, and then it's lower finals. So this is like lower octas, if anything, if you want to call it that. Anyway, we'll be back with one of those matches next week. We'll be back throughout the week with more Risen Leagues. Stay tuned to the Risen channel for that. But from myself, from Goferino, from Caddy on production, and from Slayer and Bonfire on the cast, thank you all for hanging with us tonight, and we will see you next time.
Keep moving on.